Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Who We Are. Today I am so excited to have with us a very, very special guest and a dear friend of mine, Pat Law.
Hello.
Hi Pat.
Hello.
Pat is a digital marketing and advertising maestro
Oh.
and also the founder of advertising agency GOODSTUPH. But on a personal level, I've known Pat for the last 6 years.
More than that, how dare you?
Wait, what do you mean?
It's been close to a decade. Yes.
Wow, so close to a decade. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, time really flies.
Yeah.
And I think throughout that entire time, Pat has really been, to me, a steadfast source of support and guidance, especially as a founder and entrepreneur. You have seen me through some of the most challenging times in my journey. And you have not only been there to offer me a lot of wisdom, but also a lot of hard truths that I needed to hear. You're my go-to person whenever I need clarity and perspective. So thank you, Pat, for who you are in my life.
And today, thank you. Very kind.
Today, I'm so excited to share you with my community. Are you ready, Pat?
Yes, already. Nervous though. It's so weird that I'm nervous with you.
I know.
Often or not, when we meet, it's over alcohol. And now I have
Although
water.
I don't really drink, but yes, Pat is the one that...
I'm the one drinking. And it's always
Now you
very
have water.
unhinged.
It's always very unhinged. And I love Pat because she's unhinged and she, just says it like it is. So Pat, for those of us who may not be as familiar, could you share with us a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, so I'm Pat. I am the founder of GOODSTUPH. We are an ad agency with offices in 5 countries in Southeast Asia. I think, so I was one of the OGs in the blogosphere. I'm so ashamed to admit it. I was from the batch alongside with, that's how I got to know Mr. Brown, Miyagi, Xie Xie.
Yes.
And I've watched it. I watched social media evolve since then. So I've been around about 2 decades in the ad industry, grew up in it. And I'm very, very proud to be an ad girl, really. I love what I do for a living. Yeah.
So it's been almost 2 decades of doing this.
It's actually more than 2 decades, but we round it down, okay?
We round it down.
Yeah, 2 decades.
But 2 decades since you started your own company?
No, so 2 decades since I entered the industry. As for starting my own company, it's been 14 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's a long
14.
time. I can't wait to get into it. Yeah. Pat, if you could write a book on your life and journey, what would the title of your autobiography be?
I was struggling a lot with that only because I am thinking of publishing a book by end of the year.
Wow,
Yeah.
you're overachiever, man.
No, I think it's a
Your life
midlife.
not hard enough.
I think it's a midlife crisis project. Some
Okay.
people do knitting.
Some people buy cars, buy
Yeah.
supercars.
So in order for me not to buy a supercar, I'll publish
This is
a book.
really healthy. Yeah.
So I've been thinking about it because I do have a comic strip called Chief Everything Officer on Instagram. And I'm thinking of taking that stories out into hard copy. I'm still struggling with the title because I think there are so many different chapters in my life. And to come up with a title feels very, I need to commit to it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can commit to anything.
Non-committal.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a philosophical thing right now,
Yeah.
going, okay, what's that title? What's the title of my story? So unfortunately, I don't think I have a title right now. But I know that the reader that I want picking up that book, I hope that it will be somebody who's just like me as a girl growing up, going, okay, if she can do it, so can I.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's get into the first chapter of your book. I would love to know, what was it like growing up? And can you share a pivotal moment or experience from your childhood that you believe have shaped you to who you are today?
Okay. So this morning I was actually speaking to a non-profit organization, and they cater to the bottom 10% of Singaporeans by income bracket. And it was the very first time that I had to reflect which percentage did I fall into growing up. So I never thought about it, ever. And I realized, yes, my family, we were the below 50%. Definitely not the bottom 10. And I say it very factually, with no judgment. But I think, thinking about it now, like the very fact that I didn't know where I was placed, it's a reflection on my parents, right? They never once made me feel I was less than anybody else. So growing up, my parents were very prudent. They were the ones trying to live that Singapore dream,
Yeah.
that first generation, where it's all about survival.
Yeah.
And growing up, I was comfortable, but not realizing that we were actually not doing well. So
Very interesting.
Yeah. So like, my mom would send me to London, to US to be with her sisters. My aunties are based in both London and Washington, D.C. And I didn't know that in order for her to do that, for my parents to do that for that matter, they couldn't go on a vacation for as long as I could remember. So
Wow.
they've never traveled for the first 30 years of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, so for my mom to put me through art classes, it means that she has to be stingy with herself. So there's a lot of like actual proper sacrifices they don't talk about. And I think growing up in the environment was probably the best thing that happened to me, or definitely geared me up for what I'm doing right now. Chapter 1, right? So I think I could share this story. I was 7 years old. So my mom is a very stingy person. With, how should I put it? She's very generous in her time with other people.
Yeah.
But she is very stingy with spending money. She doesn't believe in spending money for life. There's no such thing as self-care for her. And so I was primary 1, and she didn't think that I needed recess money. Because her logic is, so you go to school at about 7 o'clock, I want to say. So before that, she makes breakfast.
Okay.
And then I'm back home by noon for lunch.
No reason for
Correct.
you to be hungry,
So
Pat.
in her head, it's like, eat for what, right? What do you need to eat during recess? And I remember, so I will go to school without pocket money, or I had very little. And my classmates were like buying food, fishball noodle, and I remembered smelling chicken wings. And remembering that, oh my God, I really want chicken wings, but I couldn't even afford it. It was 40 cents.
Wow.
And I remembered I can't even afford it because I have no money. And you really never forget the price that you can afford. So the first amount I couldn't afford was 40 cents. And at 7, I had to get away from the canteen, right? In order not to feel hungry.
Be tempted.
And because of that, I ended up wandering around the school, and I ended up at the school garden. And I was watching a bunch of my classmates, a bunch of boys, catching fighting spiders. And they were catching it in order to sell it to our classmates as pets. So I asked, hey, can I join you? So they allowed me to take one area of the garden. So that was my territory.
Wow.
I was given a territory. I did not have the right to have my own area. So I was catching the spiders, and my spiders were not as great as my classmates. So then I started putting them into matchboxes and decorating around it. And so I sold it with packaging. So I never knew that at 7 years old, I did packaging.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Are you okay?
I'm okay, thank you. Wow.
So then I sold my spiders. And it was the first time that I understood, I think, supply and demand. And demand never stays. So before I know it, my classmates were not interested in fighting spiders anymore. They moved on to
Consumer
grasshoppers.
preferences changed.
Yeah, exactly. So I was very heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because, you got to know, when I was making money off the fighting spiders, I could finally eat during recess. I could eat my chicken wings, right? And I really loved it.
Yeah.
Then when they moved on to grasshoppers, and I couldn't catch grasshoppers, I didn't have the skill set. I was very angry. So I remembered complaining about it to my dad. And basically I was trying to get him to give me the money I wanted for the chicken wings. And then I'm not sure whether he smacked me across the head. Probably didn't. But he looked at me with the, you stupid or what? He's like, fighting spider do what? Then I'm like, oh, they fight.
Yeah.
So until that point, nobody had fighting spiders for fighting. They were collecting fighting spiders as pets. So I created a fighting spider tournament
No joke.
I'm not joking. I really did it.
You were primary school.
Yeah, and I guess it's borderline illegal because I was taking bets. Like you have to pay an entry fee to have your fighting spider fight in the match.
Wow.
And then I created a grand prize.
Wow.
And I picked that up so my dad will watch football, EPL. And I kind of understood how the tournaments work. And I replicated the same EPL chart
No way.
for my fighting spider.
Fighting Spiders Premier League with Pat.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very morbid to say this. I will get cancelled by people who love spiders. But when they die, then there's supply from me. And I was 7. So I think looking back, I think the most important lesson, if I could take away from it, right, it wasn't any of the business-mindedness. It was the fact that the moment I tasted that chicken wing,
Yeah.
I refused to not have that life anymore.
Wow.
I wanted that life. And I think my dad did me a favor by not giving me that 40 cents. Go figure out how you're going to maintain that lifestyle.
Wow.
So I know that, like, I work hard now. I've been right at the bottom. I'm not there now. But I know that I enjoy my life. I do not want to make a compromise to it.
Yeah.
And I think that was my biggest takeaway. Like, the moment you tasted that, the fate that you want is really up to you. What you choose to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was 7.
Amazing chapter 1. So you were entrepreneur since then. It's crazy.
It's terrible.
What would you say are some of the key values and principles that you also learned from your parents, watching them doing what they do, that have influenced who you are today?
So my parents, they are hawkers. They run a duck rice stall. Right now it's at the airport cargo. It used to be at the staff canteen in Terminal 1. And by the age, I was 9 when I started helping my dad and mom. So my job was to collect the money. So no pay now back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So my math was really good because you have to take $10, give back the change.
Yeah.
So I was the cashier, if not during lull period. So after lunch, before dinner, I will be peeling the eggs. And it'll be a whole pot, about 300 eggs.
Wow.
So I'll peel them. And sometimes, when you peel it wrongly, then part of the egg white comes out.
Yeah.
And it's ugly looking. So my dad refused to sell them. He's like, you can't sell those eggs.
They're just not good enough for the customers.
Exactly. So not good enough for the customers. So he takes pride in, like, everything that he does. And without even saying, my parents are not communicative that way.
Yeah.
They're not about to give me life lessons in theory.
Reflections on life, yeah.
But I learned something very important, which is you have to take pride in your job, no matter how small. That's about, there's a lot of integrity in it.
Yeah.
Making an honest living. So that was one of the key lessons I've learned. The other one, so being the cashier at 9 years old, you see the best and worst in people, in the customers that you have.
Basically, yeah, service line, right? It's a front line. Yeah.
Exactly. And that saying about how you treat the waiter is how it is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I remembered, so there were time and time again, there will be a customer or two who will go, "Oh, your daughter speaks really good English for a hawker's child," to my dad.
Wow.
And so, the average person who hears it will get a bit slighted or offended even.
Yeah.
My dad will always say thank you.
Wow.
So, and genuinely, not, in a passive way.
sarcastically
No,
or anything,
absolutely
yeah.
not. He means it.
Wow.
And I think what I've learned from that is he can own his own truth. Yeah, I'm a hawker. What? Why should I look down on my job? My dad, my parents, they had so much pride in what they do. They never indulged in self-pity. Never once did they think, my life is it's bad because so-and-so. They never did the blame game. And I think that is so useful for me because sometimes I do encounter people who indulge in a lot of self-pity. And on one hand, I empathize. On the other hand, I'm like, but it's up to you to choose.
We have the responsibility to
Exactly.
own it.
Yeah, you have the right to make a choice, so you shouldn't have the right to complain.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing that I took away from my parents. Their work ethic made me, I think, really embarrassed sometimes. Because, they'll be, so my parents will be up by 5 o'clock in the morning. Then my mom would make us breakfast, and then off they go to work. And then when they come back, they have to come back to a set of kids, right? My brother and myself. And they work 6 days a week.
Wow.
And they take off on Mondays. So what that really means in a family dynamic is I will never see my parents for holidays. No such thing. We don't get to spend dinner together because they're making dinner for somebody else.
Wow.
So it helped in that I grew very independent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now that I'm a lot older, now that I have a godson as well, imagine how vulnerable you must feel as a parent when you're not there going through the milestones of your kid. And so their work ethic is so strong. I have to, keep my business open. If not, they genuinely think, then my customers eat what?
Wow.
They do genuinely think like that. And I'm like, they can eat, like carrot cake today lah, and not your food.
But that's some of the best entrepreneurs. They care so much for their customers. Would you say that it was at the expense of you as their child?
I think it is. But I think life is not that straightforward, right?
Yeah.
If they were there for me, on every day for dinner, asking me about my life and all, then maybe I wouldn't be so independent. I never once felt, there's no way of saying this without making them sound like horrible parents, but they are not.
Yeah.
I never once felt like I could fall back on them. So I never had that safety net. And when you don't have the safety net, you end up having a very heightened survival instinct.
Wow.
I'm on my own. I have to go figure it out. I will survive no matter what. So your faith my faith in myself is really strong. And actually what happens in that is, yes, I'm independent. I'm not going to rely on anyone. I'm not going to trouble anyone. So that's the good part. The bad part that comes along with it is, can I admit that I can be selfish? Yeah, I am. Because I grew up with, if I don't care about myself, nobody will care for me.
Yeah.
So with that, there are, looking back, there are times where I was incredibly selfish. I'm the most competitive. I don't care about beating you in your game. I don't care about you being upset. I will beat you.
Wow.
That was how, my mind naturally worked.
Wow.
So, they're not bad parents. They were a product of their time. And I'm a product of their upbringing. So there's no point getting upset about anything like that because that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Without that sort of training, in some sense it was, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here.
100%.
Yeah.
It was a training, yeah.
Yeah.
And also I must say you took it in your stride because I think someone else going through maybe the exact same, parenting and conditioning and upbringing might turn out very differently. And so really kudos to you, Pat. And, as we move on, also reflecting on your journey from a negative $10,000 loan to building GOODSTUPH into a multi-million-dollar agency. What were some of the key principles that drove your success, especially in the initial years?
The peeling of eggs was very important. Never sell to a client a bad product or a bad service.
Wow.
And I think, it sounds so simple. It is the most basic thing you need to do. If you're going to accept a brief, promise an objective, a KPI, you need to deliver. So that is one of those things that I would rather say no to a client, not because I don't want the money, I want the money.
You need the money too, right? Yeah.
But I know, okay, we are not going to be able to deliver on what they expect.
Wow.
And that takes, I realize that does take some degree of bravery.
And discipline.
Yeah, tempting. Because sometimes you look at a budget and as a business owner, you go, oh my God, that is 6 months rent. I should take it up. But what is 6 months rent considered to a lifetime of a bad reputation?
Wow.
And I can't afford that. No, at any point, you cannot afford a bad reputation. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one thing I learned. I've also, something that we don't talk about as much is that it gets very lonely. The role that we play as business owners, it does naturally get a bit lonely. And I think something that I never thought I would be emotional about is those who start off with you don't necessarily end with you.
Yeah.
When employee number 1 left to pursue her MBA, I cried like my mother died. It's like I cried.
I feel you, Pat.
Yeah, and it feels like I was so unfamiliar with the emotion. It felt like a breakup. And people say, it's never personal. And I understand that. I agree. But it is.
Yeah.
So it will feel personal, although it's never personal.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie and say, I'm happy for that person and only happy. I'm also sad for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. They can coexist, right? The two emotions.
Yeah, you can't, it's not absolute. You
Yeah,
can
it's
have
not
both
absolute.
emotions. And even until today, like with certain people as well, like when and if they leave, there is always going to be that moment
That
where you're like,
stings?
yeah, it stings, but I've learned to see the beauty in it. So for some of my employees that I'm very close to, like we bond over trauma, I guess. We bond over trauma, we bond over work. I remembered when a couple of them were informing me that they wanted to leave. They came over to my apartment. It was during the pandemic period. And they were the ones crying. And I was trying to hold back my tears. And I think that was a very precious moment to know that, okay, I think I've done, I always question whether I could do better. So at that point, I go, okay, I don't think I've done that bad of a job if they are crying about it. And then it made me understand that you can love a place, but you need to move on. And that's okay. So I'm a lot better in that sense.
In
now.
dealing with departures.
Yeah.
So what do you tell yourself now when, some of your closest team members have to move on?
I'm genuinely happy for them. And we have had instances when ex-colleagues come back to help us, or they refer their siblings to join us. And those are like the unspoken validation, right?
Yeah.
Like you've done a decent enough job that they'll come back or they'll refer you. And I would say, honestly, it's not, with everyone. It's like, if I imagine it to be a breakup, then it's a lot like being in a relationship. Sometimes the breakup, you're happy.
It's for good.
Yeah, it's for good.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really sad,
Yeah.
but you can be happy for that person. Yeah.
And not take it personally, really, right? I think
Yeah,
at the end of
absolutely
the
not.
day.
Yeah.
And I think for me also, I recognize that everyone comes into your life and in your business in seasons, right? For different seasons and for different reasons. Pat, you transitioned from larger companies like Publicis and Leo Burnett to founding your own agency. What motivated you to take that leap into entrepreneurship, and what were some of the most challenging times you've had along the way?
Initially, starting Good Stuff was never something I wanted to do. I never wanted to have my own thing. I'm actually not very alpha compared to beta.
Interesting,
right? I am alpha by condition. I like being the sidekick actually because I don't have the responsibilities. And so when Good Stuff came about, it was from a sense of duty. Like, I have to support my parents. Dad isn't well, and somebody has to step up.
This was 2010.
Yes. And I think it was also, in my life at that point, it was a wake-up call. I should have had savings. I didn't. I was living paycheck to paycheck. Where did my money go? I still ask myself. And it was shameful. Like, there's a very private shame that I feel, like deep down, like I could have done better for the family. So it did start from a sense of duty. But then along the way, as we grew, I'm like, hey, there is something here. I'm not bad at it. And mind you, I never wanted to do it. So I never once pictured, could I do it well? So when we were having fun, I'm happy, like there's that opportunity of growing. I realized that we could mean something more as a company. What do we stand for? As a, made in Singapore agency at that point. By doing well, we keep the doors open for the rest of the independents coming in. That you can put your trust in an independent Singapore company. And then as we grew bigger, and right now we have a micro network, a baby network of our own, we are standing up for what it means to be Southeast Asian.
Wow.
And I think there is a lot of pride in doing that, in knowing that you're doing your bit for beyond yourself.
Yeah.
Beyond that medical bill,
Yeah.
you're trying to make a mark in history, if I may.
It's like a larger purpose.
Yeah. And it feels really satisfying when you watch somebody who comes to you as an intern grow into somebody better than you. And even at that point when they're better than you and they leave, you've done your part lah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
whoa.
You feel proud.
Yeah, and I will joke, hey, next time hire me, okay? Please hire me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. What were some of the most significant lessons you have learned along the way in this entrepreneurship journey, whether it's it about yourself, personally or professionally?
I think because I grew up in the ad industry, I was 20, tender age of 20 when I stepped out and celebrated my 21st birthday with colleagues, right?
Yeah.
All the friendships forged were all from work. I was so preoccupied with work that I never had anything outside of work.
Wow.
So
So it's just like wake up, work,
work,
sleep.
Yep.
Wow.
And there were
No social life, huh, Pat?
absolutely no social life. So I'm the worst kind of colleague to have if we were in competition because, and
You're not afraid to just...
yeah, I had no life.
Yeah.
And I think what was really different about me then, and that was a regret, was I didn't try to invest in myself as a person beyond my work. I was all about my work. And the reason why I was that way, I actually entered the industry without a degree.
Wow.
I couldn't, and it was a time where you almost need to have a degree as a prerequisite. And, even when I was hired, I was told, well, you're our first non-degree hire.
Wow.
People speak that
They
like
make
that.
sure that, you
People were more rude back in the day before they fear getting cancelled.
or exposed on social media.
And I actually believe in it. So I felt like, okay, then why am I so special? If I don't have a degree, what can I do to justify?
What's your edge?
Yeah. And it was only how hard I could work. That was the only thing I could control. I will work twice as hard. I will work harder than you.
So you will outwork everyone.
Yes. And it was about also doing homework. So before marketing a product, I like doing my homework. I like getting my hands dirty. I'll find ways of just working like twice as hard. So for example, when I had Tiger Beer as a client, so I actually asked the client, hey, can I go and be a Tiger girl?
Just to experience.
Exactly,
Yeah,
to
wow.
understand how the customers truly are. And I was a Tiger girl during Chinese New Year at one of the supermarkets. You know how you buy a carton, then they give you free golden pig or something? So I was that girl. And I was hanging out in my Tiger Girl uniform with other Tiger girls. So it is in my nature to get my hands dirty to understand a brand. So I would do stuff like that without thinking that, hey, you need to try to have a life beyond work. And it was harder for me because I enjoyed the work.
Yeah.
So I didn't need a hobby because my work was my hobby.
Wow.
So that was a regret because you can't buy back time, right? My 20s.
And that was your 20s.
Yeah, so my 20s was a complete blur. Because I was working so hard that, I just did. I can't really if you ask me to pull back a strong, happy memory, I don't think I can do that.
Wow.
I have a lot of points of pain.
Wow.
But I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I learned. And I think another came about in the later stage of my career, running GOODSTUPH.
Yeah.
And so what happened, and this was 5 years ago, and it's the first time that I'm talking about it publicly. So I am a bit nervous about it. So 5 years ago, I was in Paris. It was early in the morning in Paris. I was actually there with Jade Sia. We were there for a photo shoot for a client when I got a message from one of my colleagues, my then account director, who went, hey, Pat, I think you need to read this. And I clicked on the link. It was a link to an 8-paragraph review of GOODSTUPH on Glassdoor. And I read it. it was the first time I felt like that sense of hurt, that the knife's going through you. And it was so public, right? And then that account director meant well. She went, here's the article. I also need you to know that I think it's safe to say that the rest of the agency have already just read it.
Wow.
Because there was somebody else that was sharing it on our Slack channel, another fellow account director. So I had two account directors, one who came to me and go fix it because it is your problem, which is correct.
Yeah.
Another who didn't do it, but shared it with everybody.
Wow.
And I remembered being, the good thing is I had the shoot. So I'm like, okay, I cannot think about this now. The client paid us to be here in Paris. I need to do a good job. So I focused on the shoot first. And then after which, I spoke to Linda Locke, my mentor, and a few senior industry players. And I shared the link with them. And I'm like, what am I to do? And for the first time, I'm asking, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
It was very decorative and very graphic and very negative.
So it's a 8-paragraph long of hurtful things said against you and your company by an ex-employee.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So don't know who?
Yeah.
And I think it was about 8 paragraphs. It was long lah, okay. And I say it's A4 size because what happened later, and I will share that. So what for the first time I had to ask, what should I do? And in general, the more senior industry people were like, ignore it. Don't entertain it. Don't feed the trolls, right?
Yeah.
It's a common advice. And then I'm like, okay, but I do know that everybody in my office have read it. I care about how they feel. So I thought about it. Okay, Pat, your mentors are not wrong in that might be the way that they would have behaved when they ran departments or companies of their era. It's your turn now. You're from this generation. What would you do?
Wow.
So I was very uncomfortable with ignoring it. Tempting though, I can tell you it was tempting to pretend nothing happened.
Yeah.
In the
Just
end,
sweep it under the carpet.
but in the end, I couldn't live with myself if I did that because, if I was one of my people, do I want my boss to do that? And so I was questioning it from that point of view. So what happened was, the moment I got back to Singapore, I invited all my seniors and all my midweights. So I didn't want to do an agency-wide thing, but I decided that the people who can make the most difference, I should meet them. So what I did, I printed the entire review. I made hard copies. Font size was 14 so that everybody can read, okay?
Not a word missed.
Not a word missed. I cut and paste the entire thing.
Wow.
I called everybody into a meeting. I didn't tell them what the meeting was about. I just said I needed to meet them. Let's have lunch. So it was a lunch meeting. I remembered bringing highlighter and pens for everybody. And I'm like, okay, this happened. We all know about it. And the reality is there is no smoke without a fire, right? So even if I disagree to any of the points, there is some truth in it.
Yeah.
And I remember that, that's how I feel about situations. Like when it's an opinion, it is not a fact. So I'm very clear about that.
Yes.
But an opinion has both the truth and lies. And my job is to find out what are the truth because it's my duty to make sure that I can make the company a better place.
Wow.
So we went through line by line. So first comment. So I'm like, okay, what do you guys think about it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? So we went through everything. So by the end of it, we're like, ayo, this person cannot write bad grammar. Yeah, and that was good because it was very sobering an experience because I was allowing...
Wait, how were you feeling, Pat? Were you
very vulnerable,
trembling, going into the room? It must have taken so much courage.
I think... I don't know if I thought about it as courage at that point. I think what was driving me then...
what was driving you?
Was we have to fix the company together. So I should consider this as proper feedback. I don't need to agree to everything, to recognize the part that could be, the parts where we have shortcomings that we could improve on. So there were a lot of things it was interesting. I think one of the comments was an accusation that, management is introverted, right? And that, and therefore it leads to whatever. And then somebody else raised up the point, but we should be allowed to be extroverted or introverted. Why are we being penalized for our personality?
Wow, so you actually discussed it.
We did. So it was a proper brainstorming session. Right? It was so good.
It was like putting dissecting you essentially.
Or I remember another one was accusation of playing favorites. And then somebody else brought up we do pay attention. We have a culture where we pay more attention to people who are weaker to help them. Is that playing favorites? It is to some degree.
Yeah.
You're not being...
Just pay more attention is generally...
Correct. You're not being equal in your attention. You're not distributing your attention. Then I realized that at that point, I could also then try to explain my point of view. And I did. I'm like, okay, I have 12 hours a day to spare. We have, at that point, I believe we have about 35, 40 people. I cannot equally spread my time across everyone. I will not apologize for that because I really cannot.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to, I cannot.
Yeah.
So can we build then a system where nobody is left behind? Everybody is taken care of, but it wouldn't necessarily come from me. So it opens up a conversation where I could further explain myself without being defensive. And I think the thing that I struggled with was I never ever want to apologize for the sake of.
Yeah.
I want to recognize what we can do better, but I don't want to lie and apologize to make myself sound good.
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend.
Yeah.
So that was something that happened. And I mean, through it was very weird because on one hand, based on what we think we could agree with that troll, I regretted how I could have been better.
I regretted how I could have been better.
So there were things called out which we can agree.
Yeah.
And I could have been better. I could be better in my delivery of discontent.
Yeah.
I don't have to say things in a way that might hurt somebody. So I'm still working on it. I can't say I'm perfect. And at the same time, I think that was one of the best things that happened to me. It was the best lesson ever. Because what I have understood about myself then is I've dealt with it before. Emotionally, I know I can survive. It will not be pretty, I can tell you I don't like the feeling. But I know, I don't regret the decision.
Amazing.
And there's so much to learn from it. I felt I think that team at that point, we all felt very empowered to prove that troll wrong.
Amazing.
Yeah, there was a sense of unity. And one of the things I struggle with, and it's to my earlier point about being independent, I don't necessarily know how to work as a team to make everyone feel accountable. And that was when I felt like, hey, everybody want to play ball with me. Wow. I never, it's not from I want to lead kind of way. It's more like I thought I have to do it on my own. And that was when I realized I don't have to do it on my own. I have my team with me and a very, very powerful team. Yeah, I won't exchange that experience for anything else in the world.
Beautiful.
I don't want another Glassdoor review.
Another 8 paragraph. Hopefully this time,
shorter, please. And so there are stuff where I have to really go, can I live with this comment? Pat is a very difficult person. Yeah, it's true. I can be difficult. If I don't think something is on par, we are not showing it to the client. Am I being difficult? I am. So it's about taking an opinion and understanding that, let's not call it negative or positive.
Yeah.
Let's look at
See it for what it is.
Exactly. So I learned to do that a lot better.
Wow. What aspects of your personality and character, Pat, do you feel have been instrumental in your success?
I'll start with the frivolous one. I am very vain lah. I'm very vain. I care about color blocking. I care about fabrics. I care about
All the details.
all the
yeah?
details, and aesthetically, and like even with work. So with craft in our work, I care about it a lot, and clients do pay us for our vanity.
Of course, especially in your
In
world.
our line of work, they
Yes.
do pay us for that. So it is to our advantage as well. I do believe that being honest is the utmost respect I can give anyone. Because it takes courage to be honest.
Yes.
What I've learned though is my delivery can always be better. Like I used to say that I'll say it as is. What you see is what you get. I'll be direct. It's
Yeah.
on you whether you can accept it or not. And that was my attitude.
Yeah.
And then I realized that my intention may not be to hurt. So I have this whole, if you're hurt, if you're feeling upset about it, it's on you lah, not me
Yeah.
lah.
You could deal with it.
Yeah, so that was my attitude. Then I realized it's not right too, because my intention may not be there, but my effect is there. So do I want to spoil somebody's weekend by being the last conversation you have on a Friday and telling you that you suck? No, I don't. I actually don't want to be that person. So that's one. The honesty is what, and I tell my people this, in the line of advertising, we massage the truth. We do. Don't lie, but in a way, when you massage the truth, you are lying, right? So clients pay us to lie, but they pay us more when we don't. They pay us to be a partner to resolve a problem together from a comms perspective. So I think we're known for that. We're very honest with our clients. All of us are. And radical candor is something we do practice a lot in Good Stuff. So after a pitch, after a major project, we do a post-mortem. And what we do is you have to name 3 things that went well and 3 things that didn't, and call out anything.
Yeah.
So we do this quite regularly. And I remembered, wow, they really took it damn seriously, man. I kind of called out. You know? Like I remembered it was a pitch, and I was called out for bad resource management.
Wow.
Because I did not put in enough people when I should have. And I'm like, shit, that is correct.
Right.
That really did happen.
Yeah.
And it was a very candid conversation. So it was, there's no feeling bad about it or feeling like, how dare you do that?
So you have a very open culture.
Yes,
of,
we do.
Open and honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate it because I take heed now that, okay, we have to, I make sure my people don't die lah. I have to put people to support them.
Yeah.
So you learn from that. So that is something that I think plays a big role in the culture that we have. What else is there? I think it's those 2 main points.
If I can go back to your point on, delivering feedback with honesty, because it reminded me also of this quote that Adam Grant says, I'm just being honest is a poor excuse for delivering feedback without respect.
Yes.
So could you walk us through an example of how old Pat, would deliver a really honest feedback versus now the evolved Pat? How would you deliver that same feedback?
I am revealing my tactics now.
No, we all can learn.
Okay, so I think, if I don't like something that I see, an idea that I don't think it's on par yet, in the past, I would express an opinion about it. That opinion may not lead to a change. Like, for example, I would say that this is not great. But as the person receiving that, right? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's not great about it? So right now, I would open up a lot of times with either, are you happy with it? So I want to force you to think about it. For better context, when I say that, it means that I think that person did not put in enough pride. And it's actually a compliment in that I know you can do better. I wouldn't say that if I think you actually cannot do better, right? So I'll say that. If not, I will be very prescriptive in how I think it can be better. So I'll try to see it from the point of view as, okay, you have some potential in an idea. It's not there yet. It's my job to help you get there. So let me put it in a different perspective for you to take a look at. So when an idea is not great, my response will literally be, okay, what if you did this way? What do you think about it? When I say, what do you think about it? Actually, I already have the idea in my head.
Yeah.
But if I had said, no, I want it done this way, I'm going to make you feel very awful. I'm going to remove your sense of ownership, right? And that's not great. It's not. It's
you
on
want to
me.
teach them how to fish instead of just feeding them.
Yep.
Amazing.
So, but that honestly, that takes a lot of time, and sometimes
Takes
I do
a lot of patience,
yeah,
and restraint, and discipline.
Yes, I think I try in the past. The old me that is really, really terrible, that did affect my health, I let everything get to me. I would get angry very easily. If you use Calibri on PowerPoint. Yeah, I'm like, why? In what world do you think you should use Calibri? You are not creating a toilet sign that says, please do not flush sanitary pads in the toilet. Why Calibri, right? So in the past, it genuinely will get to me because, it's ugly. And I find it silly now that I will let something like that get to me. So now I go, okay, first question I have in my head is, is this worth my anger? And then the second is, I think anger is a very important tool, but I should be strategic about it. So I very seldom today blow up. I actually don't. I may express some degree of discontent. No, I think you can do better, but I don't blow up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a new me I'm proud of. And I can safely say that because I've grown very comfortable with this part of me, I don't feel like, in the past I go, if I don't show my anger, right, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You'll take me for granted.
Yeah.
So I play that whole, don't you dare bully me kind of thing. Don't think that I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
Because I'm so obsessed with the client should get the best work possible.
Yeah.
Disregarding how my people would feel. Right now, it's really, no, let's get there together. And I welcome them, and they do it too. I welcome them going, Pat, maybe this idea can be. Then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right lah. You can improve the idea for me. Yeah.
What do you think separates a good leader from a great leader?
I think good leaders, they lead very well. They inspire you, they motivate you, right? At some point, and that part is very hard. I'm still trying to do a better job at it. A great leader makes leaders. It's about
Developing.
developing that person, giving the environment for that person to shine, to grow. And it's a very delicate approach, really. So because there is no real right or wrong way, it's about that person, what works the best for that person. So I'm trying to be more of that. Like in Good Stuff, if you have a great idea, it's my job then to make sure that we try to make the idea come to life. If there is conflict, sometimes there is, right? I shouldn't be the one who go, don't worry, I'll solve it. Then you never learn to solve it.
Yeah. It's like parenting.
Yes, it is. Oh my God. It is a lot like parenting.
Yeah.
And then, it's so tempting to go, I know how to solve it, but you need to have them think about how will you solve it? Here's my opinion. But at the same time, if they disagree with you, you cannot go, no, you have to do it my way or the highway. So letting go and go, okay, you can try it your way.
It's like coaching them, throughout the whole process also. Yeah.
And that part can be hard when you are the business owner too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you define success for yourself, Pat? And how has that definition evolved over time?
Okay. When I was in my 20s, I defined success by my job title, the projects I work on, my my awards, whatnot. It was all about my work. So that then in my 30s became, what kind of difference can I make in Singapore and perhaps Southeast Asia? But if you realize all of them are tangibles, right? It's about my career, which also, as a result, would lead to, be it my home, my car, my gorgeous shoes, like the tangibles, right?
Yeah.
But what I've realized right now is when I take away all of that, the tangibles, I feel very rich in knowing what I have that money cannot buy. I have friends who stood by me from day one. And sometimes I go, hey, why you tolerate so much about me? I couldn't, when you look back, I'm like, oh my God, I can't put up with myself. And that's true love, right? Like, all my family, I have a very pretty close-knit family. And being different, I'm very mindful that I really lucked out. I grew up in, so my parents are hawkers, and they work all the time. So naturally, we're not that close, but we grew closer as I grew older. And being gay, really. Being gay and actually not being reminded I'm gay. So I forget all about it, honestly, with my family.
Yeah.
Because they are so accepting.
Beautiful.
It's never, I never feel like a token gay person.
And you never felt out of place.
At all.
Yeah.
In fact, I get more criticism over my hair changing color from pink to orange to whatnot.
To blonde.
Yeah, and there's nothing on the fact that I'm gay. Like little things, right? So Christmas in the family group chat, my aunt will go, all's welcome, and then she'll go boyfriend, girlfriends, girlfriend, boyfriends, wives, husband.
Wow.
And she'll remind everyone, just bring anyone. It does help that my family is pretty open-minded and progressive that way. But I realized I had it, I lucked out, right? I won't say luck, I'm very blessed.
Yeah.
And I think that really formed a good part of happiness, really.
Wow.
Yeah, like I could be me. I don't have to pretend to be who I'm not with my family. And that has nothing to do with my career at all. I don't need to be great at my job in order for my mom to be proud of me. In fact, she does the opposite. Okay, she will take my newspaper article, then put it for her dog pee pad. So
keeps you humble and grounded.
Yeah, but when you watch her dog pee on my face, right? And so I'm in a different place right now, definitely. I know that there are certain things that money cannot buy. It's such a cliche. It is very true.
It is.
And when I was that person who keep buying stuff to feel that 10 minutes of happiness.
Yeah.
I'm no longer that. I still like my stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's different now. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Pat. And you have also spent more than 2 decades building your career and building this path. When the going gets tough, what keeps you going?
Remembering that I enjoy the challenges. And not going, it's very tempting to go, this shit, I'm done. I think I will never be able to forgive myself if I gave up that way. And I know that I enjoy a good challenge. I love a good problem. Sometimes when the going gets tough, it's very tempting to go, okay, I'm done lah. I want to walk away.
Throw in the towel.
But I know that I cannot forgive myself if I did that.
Wow.
And I am relatively young. I still have fuel in my tank. I think I will not be able to respect myself if I throw in the towel. I can't expect to tell my people to go into war if I surrender first. And,
Wow.
and I look at my people and go, okay, we are in this together. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And that keeps me going.
Yeah.
That really keeps me going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And like it's such a privilege to enjoy what you do for a living and then getting paid for it.
Yeah.
It cannot get better than
And
this.
sometimes we just need to remind ourselves that.
Yep,
Yeah. You know, you talked also earlier about how, you know, some of your peers and mentors, they lead teams and companies of a different era. What is your advice for leaders and entrepreneurs managing and leading teams today?
I think firstly, mentally, the appetite needs to match the ambition. I find that a lot of people can articulate the results. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I want to run a company of 500 people. I want to, you know, it's all that sort of cosmetic stuff, right? It's very easy to describe what you want. It's very hard to describe why. And as a leader, people follow the why. It's never about the what. And it's, you know, if you ask me what's my why, which in some sense you did earlier, I can't really articulate it too, right? And I would say that the most important thing is to make sure that your appetite really match your ambition. Because the most dangerous people will be the hungriest ones.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, those are the people to hire.
Yeah.
You can't teach hunger.
You can't.
Yeah. You must be hungry. And in fact, their hunger might even drive you as the leader even more.
You can't teach hunger, but can you develop hunger?
Yes, you can. You starve them, lor.
Wow.
You starve them, and I don't mean this literally.
No, of course.
And I don't mean like underpaying them. I mean starve them in a way that makes them go, wait a minute, I'm lacking in this. I want to improve myself. But you know, if it's also a choice. So if they are never gonna be hungry for whatever reasons, then it's not gonna happen. You can't force it.
Yeah.
But so I would always say, find hungry people who are very hungry to learn. Because they are the ones who would take your business to another level.
Yeah. You know, Pat, as we wrap this up also, you know, I think I'm also curious to understand. I think you have a very interesting position where you lead creatives and you lead creatives well. What is your advice for leaders who are leading creatives?
Okay, so I think our job is not to innovate. As leaders, our job is not to come up with the ideas. Our job is to be able to foster innovation. As a creative, you're most vulnerable when it's not your idea. You want to be the one, coming up with the ideas. So as a leader, so when you move on and you know that actually you shouldn't be the one coming up with ideas anymore, you must be able to move to a role where you motivate and you foster innovation. You encourage it from your people and not be the one that comes up with it. And I think that's the toughest part, because you have to, in some sense, recognize that it's no longer about you. You're not at the center of the stage anymore.
Yeah.
It's your folks who are. And I will say that to all creators who are struggling, that your best of show, which is the best of best awards that you can get as a creative, it's not based on your campaigns anymore. It's based on your people. Your people are your new trophies, really.
Wow. Wow. And if there's one advice that you can leave with all of us who are listening to you today, what would it be?
Enjoy the journey. The destination almost do not matter like the journey does.
Amazing. Oh, that's beautiful, Pat. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
Your
Thanks for
time.
having me.
Of course,
Thank
it was
you.
so fun. Thank you, Pat.
So much
where
fun.
can we follow you, and where can we also continue to learn from you on this journey?
I am most unhinged on. I wish I could say TikTok, but honestly, I'm not on TikTok as much. I'm most unhinged on Instagram at Pat Law.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Very
you so
unhinged,
much, Pat.
especially early in the morning.
Yes, I love you. We all love your commentary for the article. So thank you, Pat,
Thank
for who
you.
you are and what you do.
Thank you.